Welcome, moms. Welcome, friends. It's so good to be with you on a Friday morning. I look forward to this every week. I think it's such a blessing that we're able to make these connections and get together and share and learn and most of all, understand or begin to understand how important it is to connect with other women. That truly is a thing I didn't realize. I just didn't know. And I've learned that over the course of the last almost 2 years of chatting with women virtually. Who knew that could be a thing, that would really be an effective way of communicating? I love it. Lindsay.
No, I just switched over from my phone to my computer, so it
Good. That's okay.
unmuted me.
Good, because I would be nice to hear from you.
Hi.
I want you to share your opportunity that just came up that I just got to hear about and I'm very excited about for you, and why you believe it was a thing to say yes to, if you don't mind sharing.
Sure. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, my kids go to this outside school, and it's awesome. Like, they teach from like great books, and they're outside the whole day. It's all very well educated, heart-based. And I've thought to myself before, like, it'd be really fun to be there and teach while they're there, but I also didn't want to give up my like couple of days of peace and quiet at home. Anyway, I expressed interest a few months ago, and they just asked me if I'd want to teach out there. And so initially I was like, oh gosh, I just can't, like, how am I going to keep at my house? And I have one daughter who doesn't want to go, and like, it just didn't seem like it would be the right fit. And so I prayed about it, and like right after just like the next few hours after I prayed, I just like kept getting all these wonderful thoughts. Like, my heart felt like it was going to explode. Like, okay, this must be a good thing. Like, I think I'm supposed to do this, because I just kept thinking about this most recent podcast that Marlene put out, and all of the things she's asked us to share with people around us. And I thought, I'm only around you guys. Like, I'm not around a lot of people. And I just thought of all the moms and the other leaders out there, and how open I know they are to this, because they already teach it. They need to know more. I don't know. I just thought of so many fun things. And I was also thinking about gatherings, and I thought, where am I going to gather people to like do a movie screening or to do a festival? Or I don't know if you guys have listened to the podcast, but she mentions all of these fun social gatherings. And I just thought, where am I going to do these things? And now that I'm going to be teaching out there, I thought, maybe they'll let me use this facility anyway to do these fun gatherings. I can't even put it all into words. I just had all of this flood of wonderful wonderful thoughts. And so then I was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I wanted to text her and be like, yes, 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 but I waited till this morning. Anyway, I'm all excited.
No, I think that's amazing. But I do want you to talk just a little more, share a little more about what do you think you can do out there? Why do you think that? I mean, I know you started that, but I want you to go a little bit deeper into what kinds of connections do you think you can make? What kinds of things do you envision could happen because of being out there?
Well, I'll be teaching kids, and they rotate, so I'll have like 40 kids a day or so, and I just think I can use well-educated heart principles as I teach. So just reading Lindsay Cardall's thing. Yes, I'll be out there. I'm so excited. So Lindsay Cardall's kids are there too. And so I'll be able to like teach stories, and we're already out in nature. I just feel like I have this excitement and this like fire in my heart that's just gonna like spread to, I'm hoping, that's kind of confident, but just spread to whoever I talk to about it. So as the kids come to my class, I'm just so excited to like get their hearts excited and all of that. And then I don't know.
And what about the mom thing?
And the mom thing. So I know before they've done mom classes for homeschooling and different things, because a lot of the moms are driving a long distance, and they'll just sit there all day and have nothing to do. And so I thought, and they're open to like the moms being taught classes. So it would be so easy to just be like, let's have a Mothers of Influence class out here. Like, how easy would that be? And then each of those moms has their own circle of influence. Like, I just feel like it's just going to spread like wildfire, but it may not go as fast as I have it in my head. But
I know.
I just feel like what an opportunity to just spread this to all of these moms who are already ready for it. Like I mean, their kids are in outside school. Like they know the importance of like just nature and all of these wonderful things. So I'm excited. I
Lindsay,
know
I'm super excited.
I'm terrible at like putting into words what is in my head, but
No, you're
anyway,
not. You
okay.
think you are. But that's just because we have Linnell in our group, so
I know,
we have a high standard.
I
But
know
it's just
she's ruined me.
it's in no, it's in she's inspired you.
She's inspired.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I
Mm.
remember being out there at Outsiders and talking to them a little bit. And when they brought up the idea of they want to do a mom mentoring group, I thought, oh, okay,
Yes.
we've got a great spot there that where there can be a lot of influence for good. And then, like you said, this is what I've had on my heart recently is that I think it's time, my friends. I think that we can continue here, but I think that you really need to examine your heart and see if it's time for you to meet up with a friend. Some of you have already started doing that. But so where you are, find a friend or a family member and start another Mothers of Influence group because these need to pop up all over the place and branch out. And they can. And Lindsay and I were talking about this yesterday. The idea of perhaps you model a group, perhaps you start a group and you model facilitating a Mothers of Influence group, meeting together, having these discussions, and then your group can break, can break off, or you can leave a couple of women there to continue that group, and then you could do that again. I know that's a little bit different, and I think we have Marley here, so if Marley has an opinion on that, as we'll talk a little bit about it. And Marley, whenever you want to, if you can, I know you may not be in a place where you can, but then you can hop on and kind of coach us along a little bit. But I think that might be a very helpful way to help these women who would be wonderful gathering and having these groups, but are just so afraid to start. We've been doing it. We have gained kind of a testimony of it. We have caught the vision. We have an idea of it. We could help, like I said, just help model it for them, hold their hand, walk them through it a little bit, and then they could continue on with their own group. I don't know, Marley, do you have any thoughts on that?
Thanks, Lori. I've just I had trouble getting my kids doing something and getting the computer on. So I heard a little bit of, I think it was Lindsay talking about her plans and this. I love the fire of this group, and I love that you guys have captured the feeling of moi. You know what moi should feel like. Hang on.
No worries.
Sorry, we were listening to Marlene reading the story of Switzerland, and it keeps playing in my ear. So I somehow keep turning on the volume to that story. It doesn't have to be every week. It doesn't have to be complicated. It really is just gathering, one or two people and just help them catch the fire of this, and sometimes I feel like we're trying to get converts, and that's not necessarily the case. I feel like it has changed my life to know the Well-Educated Heart way, and how to kind of bring these things to me, and how that has changed everything I do. And it's just this desire to just tell one or two other mothers, hey, just, so they can have eyes to see too, and that they can begin to kind of come out of the hardness or the crust that's surrounding their heart, and just see there's this whole untapped thing that you might not ever think about. So I get passionate enough. I could talk a long time, but I guess what I would want to say is just, it's simple. It is not complicated, but rather just share what's inside of you with someone else and help connect them with the resources that Marlene has gathered. The resources speak for themselves, and I think you've seen that happen in this group. And what happens to each person happens very individually, but being together gives us this strength of really being able to influence homes and families and communities in a way that nobody else is out there doing, that we're going to lift hearts in a unified way.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And thank you. I know I just pulled you out of the dark. Sorry about that, with no warning or anything. So moms, I would love for you to take a moment and think about an interaction that you've had lately that perhaps you've not even realized was a Mothers of Influence moment, but a conversation you've had with a friend. Something where you've had that opportunity to exchange thoughts about something and had that warming kind of an experience. I think you understand, but I want us to share this with other moms out there, because remember, it's still amazing to me, but we have moms that watch the recordings, and that's the only way that they're able to get this information. And so you could help them see how conversations just between a friend or a sister or, a couple of friends that gather together, how those conversations are those kinds of moments. So if you have something to share, I'm sure a few of you do. So if you just kind of think about that for a minute, don't be afraid of the silence, because we're just kind of mulling over and figuring out if there's something we have to share.
I'll jump in and share something. I feel like I've talked a ton, but I did have a very direct experience with this, and hopefully you guys are thinking of a better story while I'm sharing this one. But I have I have 2 Mothers of Influence groups that I'm a part of in person, and then several others, but I have not been successful at one in my immediate neighborhood. So we have some other little groups that I help facilitate, but it's not a true MOA group. But there was a lady that my daughter babysits for a lot, and I know she's really struggling. She's feeling the weight of mothering and of being isolated. And she told me she just started going back to school, and she was wondering if my daughter would come do some babysitting while she does homework. And as she was telling me this, I thought, oh, okay. But there was a voice that just whispered to me. My group was reading In the Absence of a Village, Mothers Struggle Most in our last meeting, and just having this wonderful discussion. And it was later that night, but this voice just told me, tell her about that article, give her that article, and just invite her to come. Just tell her, hey, there's this group of women and we do this thing. And she wasn't able to come that night. And lots of times I'll throw it out there and people will just kind of say, oh, that's nice, but thank you. But I could tell that what she read resonated with her, and it's sitting on her, and she wants to talk about those things. So I know that my opportunity to say, hey, let's talk about this together, even though you couldn't come, let's talk. And she wanted to know what the other women had to say, and it just opened up a really sweet conversation between the 2 of us, where she had the opportunity to realize I'm not alone, that everybody, it seems, is feeling something of this, and that opened the door. And that just happened this week, but the opportunity for us to develop that even more is coming. And my experience usually has been that there's a feeling to just share something with somebody or just talk with somebody. And if I'll just listen to that little inner voice and do that, good things happen, even though I feel scared doing it.
Right. And we do feel scared doing it. We do feel hesitant. But if we'll just trust that and go with it anyway, figuring, what have you got to lose? Even if you feel like you've got stuff to lose, do it anyway, because good things come. Okay, moms, who else has an example to share? Thank you, Marley. That was perfect. And that's how simple it can be. Ida.
I have been, we are kind of in a new-ish area. Like, we haven't been here super long time, and it's been mostly since the pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic. So we have been pretty isolated as far as like activities and whatnot. And I haven't really gotten to know tons of people, but there's a few ladies that I've just, like every time I see them, I'm like, oh, they're so cool. And I love just talking to them. And this one gal, she's so, it's so funny because she's my husband's, she's the wife of my husband's boss. So it's kind of a weird, and she's a member of the church, but it's kind of a weird. But anyways, I've shared stuff with her, and I felt like I should share things with her, like the podcast that Marlene just put out. I was like, I feel like I should share this with her, and I was so nervous, but I was like, here's this thing, and I think you might like it. And then I was going to be like, and there's this group of ladies, and we're going to talk about it. But then I was like, no, stop, Ida. And I'm like, maybe I'll just share this and be like, hey, if you want to share your thoughts about it, that'd be lovely. I'd love to talk about it or whatever. And a while ago, I shared with her the podcast that she did about music. It was about this lady that had composed all this music, and she talked about seeing these angels and like Beethoven and people that came and talked to her and taught her how to do it. And anyway, so I shared that with her, and she was like, that was really cool. And just, we didn't really get a chance to talk about it a lot, but she thought it was really interesting. And so I'm like, well, maybe she'll like this too. I don't know. And then trying to explain to her, but it's so like, because Well-Educated Heart is so big. It's so simple, but also there's so much to it. It's hard to just be like, in a text, you can't really be like, oh, here's Well-Educated Heart. This is what it is. It's like a long explanation. So that is intimidating for me to try to explain to people what it is and how great it is. And, like, I don't know. But anyways, I just feel like, well, like sharing these little bits and pieces helps people to, like, I don't know. It opens their minds and hearts too, and then it facilitates opportunities for conversation later on. So that's been my experience. But it's so funny sharing it. I felt like I was like trying to share, I don't know, like the gospel or something. I was like, oh, but we'll see what happens.
But you did it, and you didn't explode or melt or anything like that.
Maybe a little.
I love it. It's hard. It's hard at first, but then once you do it, because ladies, I've told you, I tell everybody. I tell pretty much, if you're female, watch out, because I am coming and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share it with you. I told you that the lady who cleaned my teeth 2 weeks ago, she got an earful, and I had a mouthful, right? So, it's not like I had a great opportunity, but I still did it anyway. And she put the app on her phone before I left. So, who knows? It could be one of those things where, like you, Ida, somehow you got the app on your phone, and it was months later before you actually went in there and got started on it. It doesn't matter. You're planting seeds, my friends. You're planting seeds. And you also don't have to tell them all about Well-Educated Heart the first time you talk. You just tell them about a story. You tell them about a poem. You tell them about a piece of artwork. You tell them about something that touched your heart, your walk, out, and you went on this beautiful walk, and what you experienced or how you felt. Marley.
Or you saw me go off mute.
Yep.
For a long time, my friend Jen Goostery and I, we couldn't explain what the Well-Educated Heart was. And really, we just had to settle with, we do this thing. We just called it this thing. And yet it speaks for itself. If you can just connect somebody with the app or something, then they'll begin to see. And then you just have to be available to kind of follow up. But I guess all I wanted to say was, it's okay to use the word this thing. I do this thing. I belong to this group of women, and it's got this feeling, and I'd love to share it with you.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I love that. That makes it even simpler. Lindsay Cardall.
I'm kind of like Ida. Like I don't know, I just get nervous too. And I feel like I have recently shared the Well-Educated Heart, but I haven't actually, like I've told people about it, but I haven't shared it with them. So I probably just need to like finish up and like send them the link. But I sometimes I think like I'm gonna do that, but then I'm like, but what would I say in my text? Like, I don't know, I just get really nervous. But I listened to that podcast of Marlene's twice, and I sent it to a lot of people. I mean, I sent it to my sister-in-law who homeschools, and then all my sisters who don't. But I try to tell them in the text, like, I'm not trying to tell you to homeschool, but this is great. And I kind of explain it to them a little bit. But I think I share like on a superficial level. So I probably just need to like beef it up a little bit.
Just, just go a little bit deeper. Just go a little bit deeper. That's all. I mean, but honestly, Lindsay, sharing on a superficial level, I mean, I'm using your words, um, you're sharing it. You're still planting a seed. So don't discount that. But if you're feeling this, like, okay, I need to do something more, then follow your heart and do that. Figure out what that more looks like, and then do that. Lindsay Bunting.
You're talking about planting seeds, and there's a friend, Lindsay Cardall, knows her, Cami, and she's also a guide out at Outsiders. So when I was like weighing my pros and cons, I texted her. I'm like, these are my concerns. Like, what do you think? And she said, well, and I had told her about Well Educated Heart a couple times before, and she's been here a couple times last summer. She kind of expresses interest. Max and Lindsay Cardall's daughter are friends, so they're on screen. But so she had kind of like asked questions here and there, and I didn't know how much she had looked into it. So when I was asking her about my concerns, she said, I had the same concerns. And then I was reading this story that I had read before in A Mother's Influence, and she told me the story, and she's like, and that was when I knew that this was it wasn't for me, it was for others, and that's when I knew I needed to do this. I just thought, oh my gosh, she was reading in A Mother's Influence. And not only the first time, she's like, I had just read the story and I was reading it again. So I just thought, you don't know, like I planted that seed, and I'm sure Lindsay Cardall did too. And you don't know what people are looking into because you're not talking about it all the time, yet behind the scenes, they're reading and their hearts are being softened. So awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm playing with all the kids. That's my favorite part about coming here, is getting to see your kids. Sorry. I do love you all, but I like seeing your kids too. That's just fun that they're all part of this. Okay, now I'm going to see, okay, who else has something they want to share? Because I am going to call somebody out, but I'll first see if there's someone else who has something they want to share about this, little experiences you've had sharing, or your thoughts about this.
I had an experience. I've shared it with my sister, and I kind of feel like I was rejected in a sense that I was expecting a convert. So I wanted her to love it as much as I do and embrace everything and do everything as I do and have it change her life as it has mine. It's kind of like I saw the way that it's blessed my life, and I wanted a specific aspect of this to bless her life in the same way. And I listened to a podcast this past week that has really started to change my perspective on this idea of looking for converts. And he said that we just experience this fullness, and we want others to experience more fullness. And we're never full in the sense that nothing else can fit. It's just this capacity for receiving. And so now when I think of it that way, I just want to offer more fullness to my sister. And she doesn't have to embrace it in the same way as I do, and with the same zeal or passion or dedication that I do. But as long as I add a little bit of value to her life, then I have succeeded. So now I no longer think of it as, okay, you need to be Well Educated Heart, and you need to homeschool your kids, and you need to do nature time, and you need to come to Mothers of Influence and do everything that I do. No, I just want to add a little bit to whatever I feel could help her in her life at this moment.
I love that. That's really good. That's really good. I see Marley just nodding her head and smiling at the things you're saying, because yes, we need to understand that we're not trying to get converts. We're just trying to help other women warm their hearts. And for me, learned that relationships and these connections with other women are vital to our lives. You may not know that right now because you haven't experienced it. But once you experience it, then you realize, oh my goodness, I've been missing this whole time. This is this richness, this fullness that I didn't realize I could have in my life because of these connections. Marley?
Well, we're increasing our capacity for light. And really what that means is, it means a lot of things, but one of the things is that light can just be transmitted to someone else. What happens to them is very personal. Like in the beginning, I felt like like you, I expressed, Linnell, a little bit that I wanted them to love it as much as me, and I wanted them to see all these things. But I just want to see now, I just have to transmit a little bit of that light and then let it grow and work. I'm not necessarily accountable for what happens past that. I see myself as, I want to have discussions with you, conversations with you, and grow with you wherever you're ready to grow. Like, I want to be available, but how it grows in your life is up to you.
Yeah.
And I also feel passionately and that this is so much bigger than homeschool, that homeschooling is a great way to nurture children's hearts and to really give this opportunity for them to begin to grow in new ways. But this is so much bigger than homeschool. And so I'm always looking for that person that's not even interested in homeschool, or doesn't even have any children, or is, but you just know those mother-hearted women. And those are the women we want to gather in, because they'll light up the community too.
Well, and they add so much. They bring so much. And I love that too. I look for that too, Marley. Yeah,
But
Ida.
Linnell, you
sorry.
said it perfectly. I just wanted to tell them.
Yeah.
I was thinking kind of like that too, like things that are inspired, like beautiful art and music and literature. They're living, like living scriptures, right? So they have the power to influence us in the way that we need to be influenced. And like Marley's saying, and Linnell, it's each of us is going to feel that in a unique way. Like, we need certain light in our lives. Like, for one person, it's going to be totally different than another, but the scriptures or these inspired things that are beautiful and good, they will touch our hearts in the way our hearts need to be touched.
I love that. Right. Exactly. And they'll touch every heart exactly in the way it needs to be touched. And like Marley said, it's not our responsibility. We're not accountable for what they do with that. And Marley, when you were talking, I was picturing that picture that you shared, that oh goodness, what's the name of that picture, Marley?
Is it Passing Favors?
Yep, Passing Favors. And ladies, you know that picture, we shared it here. But Marley, I love when you talk about it. Can you just share what you see, what you feel from that picture?
Let me see if I can find the picture to share.
Oh,
Let's see
yeah.
if I have it to have it on my desktop.
So why don't you, if you look for that, and I'm just going to see if moms, if one of you on here remembers, knows the picture we're talking about with the women and the balls of light. If you want to share for a moment about that picture while Marley's looking for that, and I'll while she's doing that, I'll look to help her be able to share. So
Let's see,
go
is it the
ahead.
desktop? Oh, okay, I've got it if you want me to share it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a co-host. Okay.
I think that's how we do that.
I'm going to share my screen. It's going to be so scary because you're going to see my desktop.
Oh my goodness, what a messy desktop. I'm just kidding. Look at that. I love the
Hopefully.
birds. I love the birds back there, the watercolor. That's beautiful. Okay.
All right. Can you see this?
Ladies, can you
Yes.
see? Yeah. Yes.
Okay. This is Caitlin Connolly. And I reached out to Caitlin Connolly as we were doing the website, and she wanted to know, what was this about? And she had some certain requirements about how to use this piece of art, but she happily gave us permission to do it. And I'm so grateful to her for doing that. What I see in this is it's more fun to know what you see in it, but
You can ask that if you want to. You can ask that. That's fine.
Just if anybody wants to, I mean, you've had a discussion about it before. I don't want to be repetitive, but what are some of the key things that you notice going on here?
Okay, so I'm looking at the second woman from the left, and she almost looks sad, kind of beaten down and tired, but she still has light to give and light to share, even despite whatever she may be going through. She still has a contribution to make.
Beautiful. It's true. She does kind of have that sadder face. None of these women look particularly excited or smiling or joyful.
Other moms, other thoughts?
I just noticed how you really see their hands. The hands seem to really stand out to me, and they look like very giving hands that open, like especially the woman's hand on the second from the left, like it's open, and I feel like these are just giving women, just from the gestures of their hands.
I love that. I love that. Thank
know,
you for sharing.
Their expressions are kind of like, to me, like motherly, right? You know, like they're not like, I don't know, when you're like sick or you're hurting and your mom comes to comfort you, it's like she's tired and she has her own things that she's carrying, but she is also like this woman in green. She's also giving, even though she's worn down and maybe struggling with something. But even seeing a woman going through something difficult and enduring it well, that is a way of giving light, right? Like when they're struggling and you're like, I'm so inspired by your strength and your endurance through this difficulty. And then these other two women both are giving light to her, like, we're supporting you in this, you know. I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And look, each one of them has a hand holding, has that light, and then has a hand holding.
I see these women are shoulder to shoulder. I don't see that one stands out more than any other. And you can't tell who's giving more or who's receiving more. It just seems there's this flow, this going back and forth.
And I don't remember, Cadence, was it you that talked? You had some thoughts about this before.
I haven't seen this one.
Oh, it wasn't you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was trying to
Way to
remember.
put her on the spot.
I know.
You're a good sport.
my poor friends. Yeah, they're used to it. I do that to them. My very sweet friends. Anyone else have something they want to share about that before we go on?
Well, it was kind of touched on, and I just last time I had mentioned, I like everybody is sharing something, because I think sometimes we feel inadequate and we feel like I don't have anything to share. Like they already know so much more than me, and they already do so much more than me. And I don't know. I do that to myself, and so. But I like in this picture, everybody has got something to share.
Yeah, I think it was you, Lindsay. And when you said what you said last time, what it made me realize in that picture was that, okay, first off, these are 5 women. They're each different. They're going to have very different circumstances. And in this moment, they're going to have different levels of fullness, of ability to give, of capacity to give, things like that. But they are offering their light. And what I see is that probably each one's offering was a different size, but look at them in the picture. The offering, I believe that the Savior has participated in this offering, and he has made each one of their offerings whole and complete. So it doesn't matter if you feel like yours is so weak or so small, it's not enough. It doesn't matter. The act of you reaching out and offering what you have, the Savior then steps in and makes it enough. And that's my favorite part about this. And I think that makes, that just makes these women who they are and gives them that lovely little, back behind them, because they're willing to do that. They're willing to partner with the Savior and offer what they have, and he makes it enough.
I love that, Lori. What a neat connection.
I looked at it. Oh, sorry, Marlon.
Oh, please go ahead.
I was just, the way I look at it is every woman, their arms are full, yet they're still trying. That looks, it's light. But for me, it looks like stuff that these women are carrying. Okay, so even though these women's arms are full, they're still lending that hand to carry other people so they don't drop all of their responsibilities. They're not letting anything fall through the cracks. They're willing to outstretch a hand that maybe they don't really have, but if they all just stand together, then they can lend that support to one another. That's what it looks like to me. It's, they are lending light, but they're willing to carry each other's burdens. And that's what it looks like to me.
Oh, Lindsay, I love that.
Lindsay, I felt the same way when I saw that too, that those balls can represent so many things. Like we're looking at it right now as light or goodness, but like you, I saw sorrow or burden or joy or heaviness or weight. It just, who knows what that is. But they all have this light behind their head that's independent of these other balls that are being passed and shared and carried. And even if for some reason they're standing alone, they still have that light behind their head. They still have that goodness, that divinity, that whispering behind them if they'll honor it and listen to it. But way better to stand shoulder to shoulder, isn't it? And I just feel like, that's what I see when we talk about the cedars of Lebanon too, is that there are these trees and we're just building this forest, just rebuilding this forest of women who will stand shoulder to shoulder. We won't be the same. We're not wearing the same dresses. We're not maybe even doing the same things in our everyday life, but we stand shoulder to shoulder with a vision for the future and as a safety net of culture, of the hearts of people.
Yeah, I love this. I think it really tells us so much. Thank you, Marley. Thanks for sharing that with us. Okay. Other thoughts, moms? And just because I always do this to people, Innovation Dermatology, if you have an opportunity to put your name in the chat or to share with us on camera, whatever you want to do, a little bit about who you are, that would be lovely.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I meant to change the name. I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, so I live in Alberta, Canada, 7 kids, and I am currently homeschooling. My oldest is at school, and then I guess I have 3 that are sort of in schooling age. And I found Well Educated Heart about 3 months ago from a recommend from a friend of mine. And so I kind of just started the journey about 3 months ago, really and it's been like opening the door to a secret world that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And very exciting. And I've just been kind of, I don't know, like enjoying it so much, and also trying to kind of keep a steady pace, because I feel like I've just opened the floodgates to so much information that I hadn't ever pieced together before. It's all like these things that I sort of had wanted in my kids' education, but didn't really know how to go about implementing it, and was so, like so many of us, so kind of just stuck in the kind of rut of how I was educated.
Sure.
So it's been an amazing learning journey so far, and I'm loving it. So yeah.
Good. It's so nice to have you here. I'm so happy that you found us. Can I ask how you found us?
A friend of mine, her mother, who was, well, this is a bit convoluted, but I know her from many years ago. She was my father's missionary of all people, and she lives in Utah, and her daughter homeschools, and she was like, oh, you should check out Well Educated Heart. And this was probably like a year ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so busy, I already have so many things. So it was a recommendation from a friend. Yeah.
Lovely. That's so nice. And I hope that it continues to bless your life. It is so wonderful to add it to our own lives, as moms. It makes all the difference in the world. If we go to that and use those resources for ourselves, oh my goodness, the blessings that come are incredible. Okay, people want to know about your baby. And if you don't want to share it on camera, because this is recorded and we put it on YouTube, you can put it in the chat, so.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. So my name's Christina, And this is little Matthew. He's 7 months.
He's adorable. You've got,
Thanks.
that's so fun. I hope you learn Christina or Christine.
Christina.
Christina, I hope you learn quickly that this is such a warm and wonderful group of women. We have become best friends, and we never knew that was possible to do that virtually. So anyway,
Thanks.
so
Really
much
happy to
fun.
be here.
Good.
Thanks.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so now I'm going to call out somebody, and just to give you a little bit of a warning, my friend. I mentioned this morning that I might do this to you. So just give you a heads up. So I have a friend who has also found Well-Educated Heart recently and is just beginning on her journey. And I would love it if she doesn't mind sharing, you know, a tiny bit or a bigger bit, whatever, about how you feel this connection to other women, adding warm things to your heart, how that has made a change in your life. Melissa M.
Well, it's made a big difference in my life and a big difference with my kids. When I was young, things like art and music and poetry, I just gravitated towards that because it felt very healing for me, and like that was my safe space. And then just over the years, I just got drawn away from it, and I could just really feel how that hurt my heart, and I miss those things. And now, since being introduced back into that again, it's just made this like wonderful warmth in my home. And like the other night, my kids are 14 and 16, and I had them sit down to read poetry. And at first they were just kind of like, what? Like, what do you, I don't know about this. But after we all sat down and they each had a book and we all started reading, everyone was just laughing, and my son was snuggled up against me. And it was just a really nice moment. And I've also started playing my trombone again. And that's been really nice because that is just very healing for me. And my kids love hearing me play. And so it just made a huge difference in our home. And I felt before I had been really isolated. I'd been extremely isolated, and social media was messing with my mind, and it like I was already a person that had anxiety and was very lonely, and then social media created this false world where I felt like I had friends, but I really didn't. It just made my loneliness and anxiety even worse. And it really also confused my mind about who I was as a person. So being able to be around other women and have that positive influence has really helped me to flourish as a person. I had told Lori that I felt like I was this plant, and like with all the other stuff that the world was telling me in social media, that I was just dying and withering. And now with this group and Well-Educated Hearts, like I just feel like now I have been replanted and I'm getting that nourishment that I need, and I'm now blossoming as a person, and it's just helped my family immensely. My daughter came in the door the other day and she just said, I'm so happy to be home. I just love being home. And that just made me smile inside. So.
Sorry. Thank you, Melissa. I know that's hard for you. You were very brave. And I really appreciate what you shared. It has been wonderful to watch the changes that I see happen in women when we embrace this idea of nurturing our hearts. It's just so powerful. This pattern of learning. I hope you have distilled that down and you can see it's this very simple thing. There are tons of resources, but it's a very simple thing. Using this pattern of learning, using the arts to warm your heart. That is the key. That's what makes the difference. And then, I mean, that's step one, right? You learn something, you bring those things into your life, and then you share it with somebody else. You find another woman, a friend, and you share it. And you discuss the things that you're thinking and feeling, and you start connecting on real levels, not superficial conversations, but you're actually talking about real things. And it makes a difference. Yeah, thanks, Ida. Now, Marley.
Lori, you just use the word real. And I think that that is one of the things I appreciate about when I meet with other women and the women in my life, that there are so many things that are artificial or fake, but I feel like this gives me an opportunity to have real connection and do real things that matter and are important. And when you're out, before I knew about Well-Educated Heart, you know, you're going around and you're doing things, but it was surface, and I didn't know how to kind of get down to real things. Other people are better at me. That part of that's my introverted nature, but there is a realness and a genuineness to all of this that makes all the difference for me.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think when you're willing to be real with somebody else, which that, you know, initially is scary, that's when you make the connections. If you feel like you're not really making the connections yet, maybe you haven't opened up enough. Maybe you haven't added that vulnerability into the conversation or into the relationship. That has to happen. I love when, I don't remember who shared it, who responded this way initially, but we had someone new on here and they shared something, and one of you said, that's so wonderful. Once a person opens up, I can't remember what you exactly said, but once another person shares something on here, we start a connection. Because when you share something real, you know, a struggle or a sweet thought, a reaction, you're feeling about something, when you share that with somebody else, they all of a sudden, instead of just a name and a face, they have something else to add to that. And they, like, you make a connection heart to heart. And I don't know what it is, but it's this magic, you know, it just happens, and that connection starts and you can build from there. And I don't know, it's amazing. I say this all the time. I'm amazed that this can happen. I cannot believe that this group has grown, and the strength of the relationships, you know, and then the other connections that have built between different ones of you who have reached out to one another and made real connections and real friendships. It's beautiful. And I hope that you're starting to see, okay, if this can happen virtually, can you imagine what you can do in person? And I think that's a lesson we're being taught here. Wow, what are the possibilities? I don't think we even realize what is out there and what can happen. And ladies, if you haven't listened to Marlene's podcast, excuse me, help me, the 200th podcast, it was one she was reluctant to share, but she shared very important truths, and she shared so much hope. And she's telling you that what you're doing here is the way. It is the way through all the crazy that is out in the world right now, and the crazy that is probably coming. And we've heard about that from different sources we trust very much, that it's just going to get rough, and that we're going to need to learn how to hear, receive inspiration, and we're going to need the courage to follow it. But we're also going to need connection. We need to gather. Gathering in I mean, there are multiple definitions of that we understand, but gathering just in being together with other people and making real connections, we need that. We are going to need that in a way that we really haven't understood, probably can't really understand or wrap our heads around yet. And I was sharing this morning, I was thinking about a movie that I love, a book that I love even more, but the movie was lovely. But the Guernsey Literary and Potato Pie Society. Sorry, but I was thinking about that movie and the connections that those people made and how it helped them through a very, very difficult time. They were living in a simpler time. They had a much simpler life, and connection was probably, I mean, it was hard. It was hard for them to make it right initially and to keep it, but it was important and they did it. I think that we have so many distractions that if we were to wait till the moment we needed it, I don't know if we would find that way. I don't know that we could. And I think that that's why we're being led to do it now, to make those connections and have those gatherings and connect with the people virtually and at home. And we need to help other people see it. Other people who don't have the vision yet, we need to still help them gather. And if we help them gather by bringing them together to watch a movie and then share what we thought about it, bringing them together to read a little excerpt from a book and a poem that kind of connects, and I'll share a resource about that another time, and then talk about it. Get together and have a little, a cultural event. It's whatever month, and you're doing like cadence, and you make some meals from that country, and you talk a little bit about the culture, and you invite some friends over, and you connect and you talk. But ladies, this connection is important. I don't understand exactly why. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I know that we're being prepared for something. And I know that this group of women right here, that Heavenly Father has brought us together for a purpose. And we need to find out what that purpose is. And we'll be led to that. So don't worry, don't panic, or don't be frightened. But start listening more carefully. Start really examining your heart and finding out, what's my place? What's my role? And Heavenly Father is probably not going to open it up to you as, okay, here you go. Here's the manual. Here's the book. Here's your plan. Here's all the steps from beginning to end. He doesn't work that way. He's going to tell you today what you do today. Please ask him. Please find out, what is my role? What do I do today? How can I be an instrument in thy hands today? Just today. If today is too much for you, just this morning, just this afternoon, just the next hour, what do I need to do? And I don't mean that you need to be led and guided and directed in every step of everything you do. You don't have to wait. Like, I can't take a step until I know left foot or right foot, it's not that, but it's let him, partner with him and find out what you need to do so that you can play your part, and so that you can influence the lives of other women, so that you can be brave and say, hey, I just read this story the other day, and I wanted to share it with somebody. Can I share it with you? There are just ways that we can share, and that we can make a difference, and that we can do what we're supposed to do here. I don't know. Anyway, I loved thinking about that story and that group of people, and then us and our next steps. And I loved this. Some comments over here. So Ida said, she shared, I was thinking about that the other day too. That movie, Ida, yeah. I think Marlene's podcast made me think of it. Yeah, me too. And Lindsay, he can't, Heavenly Father, meaning your God, however, what your relationship with him, he can't drive a parked car. We have to keep moving and have faith that he will guide us in the right direction. That's so true. We do. We move forward. We do good, and we look for that direction. On Ida, anxiously engaged in a good cause, like Enoch. He was journeying as he got the call to teach. I love that. I have learned so many things this week about Enoch. Oh, just so many lessons from the story about Enoch. Just so much. I'm so grateful for that. Anyway, I was so excited that after that podcast, we were going to get together and be able to share and be able to remind each other, okay, we're here. We're all here. We are those outposts. I'm going to share that again. I need to ask Montserrat. I need to just say, you got to come out and you need to share that like quote and that post and that years and years and years ago, I found Montserrat and her blog, Chocolate on My Cranium is what it was back there. And I found this story and this quote, and I shared it with Lindsay Bunting, and she loved it. And she shared it with a friend, and I've told you this before, but she shared it with a friend who painted a picture and wrote the little part of the quote around the picture. And it's just so beautiful. And it talks, the whole story is talking about how our homes are we can make our homes a source of light, and we can open up a conduit to heaven, and we can invite that light into our homes and into our hearts. And we're not alone, because there are other mothers and fathers, other homes that are doing this same thing, other women who are bringing this light into their lives too. And that when you are worried, you're worried and you're feeling alone, and you know that there's darkness all outside you, you have your warmth, you have your light in your little home, but you still feel a little lonely because of all the darkness outside you. You can peek outside your window, and you can see a light in a house in the distance, and you see another light out that way. And that's how I see you. You are those little pinpoints of light, those other houses out there that are filled with light. And when you go out in your community, when you go out around other people, you are like those little houses, those little spots of light, because you are a source of light. But you can only be that if you fill your hearts. If you warm and nurture your own heart, then you can go out. If out is in your home, that's okay. And if that's your season of life, then that's wonderful, and that's fine, and that's where you go, and that's where you shine your light. But if you can go out even a step further, and it's your neighborhood, it's your neighbor, or it's your family member, or it's your friend, then you are a source of light for them, and we are a source of light for one another. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling burdened, if you're feeling any of those things, reach out to one of these people on this screen. These are your friends. These are your other sources of light. These are your connections. These are those helpers that help you along, keep you on the path. We're doing that for each other. This Zion idea, it is making sure that you are right with God, that your heart is in the right place and you're where you need to be, which is a course correction all the time, right? I mean, I'm never on the path. I'm always, one side or the other, but I'm trying. And so I'm always course correcting to get back on there. But that's the first thing, is you do that. You take care of that. And then I loved this. It was from a podcast this week, but then you presume that everyone else is doing their best. You just give them that gift, because it doesn't help to do anything less than that. You're not helping anybody else. You're not helping you. You're not helping them if you're feeling anything else. So you presume that they're doing their best. Then you help. You help the others around you to stay on the path. And if we're all doing that, then we're all going to be pretty much on the path, right? We're going to be helping each other. And that's what we need to do. And that's what we're here for, I think. I don't know. I'm not very smart. I don't have tons of experience, but I have some. And I have a really warm heart. And I'm so grateful for that. It's a gift. I know that. I'm right now grappling with what I'm supposed to do. I feel like I'm supposed to do something so much bigger. I don't want to do that. It terrifies me. I feel inadequate. But I need to reach more moms. I need to reach more women. I need to reach women who don't have children but think Well-Educated Heart is just for homeschooling. Thank you, Lindsay. But I need to reach more women. And I've been told by multiple people around me recently, the message is slowly getting into my, into my head and into my heart, that I have the ability to do that. So I'm going to figure that out, and I'm going to do that. But, so don't be afraid to do what you're supposed to do. We need to carry this message into the hearts of all the women around us. What they do with it is their their choice. And it, like Marley said, we're not accountable for what they do, but we are accountable for what we do. And we need to share what we have with those around us. So sorry. But that's me, Marley.
Lori, it is a gift to have you doing this. And I think every single one of us has been influenced and better and blessed because what you're giving. I just don't know of a single other person that understands any better than you and certainly doesn't love any more than you. So I am truly, truly grateful for you. I learn new things every time I get in here. So thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. And I don't mean to keep butting in. You're talking about my favorite stuff, but when we talk about the cedar, we don't develop that imagery of the cedar of Lebanon enough. In part, I think because it's supposed to develop for you. It's not something that I'm going to explain to you, but instead, if you'll take time to just kind of explore that, I think the Spirit will unfold that to you. But it is just what you described, Lori, in that as we just take care of us, as you will connect to a source of light and joy and happiness that isn't affected by surface things, and draw it up and just let it pull through you. And then it starts saying, hey, learn this and think about this and go here. And you start doing that inspired growth. What happens next, which is encircling reach, just flows out of you. It's not because, in a little bit it's out of your desire, but you can't contain it, I guess is what I'm saying. And Lori, you're an example of this exactly, is that you can't contain it. What influence you have, what you begin to do in your life, once you've followed that pattern of the cedar tree, will flow to you, and it'll come to you from a higher source. But it'll happen. And I'm sorry, don't need Fillmore Fam Jam. You just said we're already doing those things. I'm seeing those things, and then new ideas are percolating on you. That's the pattern. That's how it will work. You just have to feed your heart and just strive for small and simple. And God takes that offering and he turns it into something useful and magnificent and better. And I think that's all I want to be, is just useful. Just let me be useful. And this is a way of connecting to that light and doing that even more. Sorry, I don't mean to have a final say.
No, you're great. And besides, Linnell always gets the final say anyway. So
And
you don't have to worry about that.
The final say. I love Linnell's final says.
Yep. It is wonderful. Oh, my friends, it is so good. We have been given such a gift. I hope you realize that. I hope you feel that. I love it. I love it. And thank you, Marley. And yes, ladies, see if you have a minute, and you don't. So make a minute and go to the Mothers of Influence page. Marley has just recreated it, and it's lovely. It's a great place you can send friends who don't know, who don't understand what it is we're trying to do. You understand, but I don't know, but it's a great resource. But this imagery of the cedars of Lebanon, it's just it's how I feel too, Marley, is that, we think like we want to teach that, but it's actually a product. It's what comes from gathering with other women. And then when you realize that, it's just so exciting, because that's what you have, that upward reach, that heavenly upward reach, and the developing those strong roots and the encircling arms. It's beautiful. That's the little video at the beginning on the Mothers of Influence page. And I love that, Marley. Thank you for sharing that whole beautiful idea with us, and that imagery that we can think about, and that we're understanding in our lives as we're experiencing it. Okay, my friends, there's been a lot this week. And if you haven't listened to the podcast, please do. There's just a lot there. And the end of it just made me cry. It was just so sweet and powerful and hopeful. And And you're engaged in such a great work. Yes, and Elena Duncan, I don't know you. I'm so happy that you're here. I love it. I hope that you come back. I hope you stay with us. It's absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, Lindsay Watkins, the Hebrew word for cedar comes from a root word meaning firm, and it's known for the firmness of roots. Marley's nodding her head. Yes, she knows those cedars of Lebanon. Thank you, Lindsay Watkins. That is beautiful. And Elena says, I came today because I know that this will be a source of peace and positive encouragement and enlightenment, if that isn't the definition of mothers of influence. So good. Oh my goodness, my friends. Okay, Linnell, you've waited long enough. You guys are so patient. Thanks for letting me go over a little bit today. And Marley, thank you so much for being here with us. That means a lot. Marley she and Jen Goostrey started the Mothers of Influence years ago. She's the one that runs that page and takes care of, she's the grandmother of all of us, this grandma group, this grandmothers of influence. And we love and appreciate you so much, Marley. Hey, Linnell, we're going to turn it over to you to take us out of here.
I want to share with you a little bit of what just happened. As I am participating in our group, my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old were in the kitchen, and I'm going to turn my camera around so you can see some of their creation. So I didn't get to do dishes. So we've got this bowl that hasn't been washed, and I had some tea in here, and they were playing and dipping limes in there and, doing their children activities, squeezing lime juice. And my daughter ended up pouring. Okay. She poured the entire thing of tea in here and then tried to pour it back in there. And so it just spilled everywhere and was all over the floor. So that just happened. And maybe a couple of years ago, I would have freaked out and been really upset, and it would have been really frustrating. But my heart is warm, and so it doesn't matter what they're doing. And it's okay that my daughter is screaming at me because she wants yogurt. So what's the difference here? The difference is that I've been warming my heart, and the difference is that the little things that she's doing right now, I recognize are because of activities that we've been doing as a family. Because we watch cooking shows, and she watches me cook in the kitchen. So she wants to be like me, and she wants to make her own concoctions. And when I see it in that light, it's beautiful, and it's sweet, and it's tender. It's not, look at this mess, and I have to clean this up. And that's absolutely how I would have seen it a few years ago. So I'm just gonna run away for a little bit. Hope it doesn't get too crazy, because that's not exactly what I wanted to share. It's been a wonderful conversation about our role and a mission that we can accomplish. That's what I feel like, at least. We are put in our homes, in our families, in our communities to fulfill a purpose. And this morning we watched the Joan of Arc documentary, and it's been shared several times on Well-Educated Heart. And so I guess if you have heard it enough, then you finally listen and say, okay, I should probably watch this. So I watched it with my sons, my 6-year-old and my 5-year-old. And at first, as they were watching it, it took them a while to get into it. But towards maybe 3/4 in, my son said, this is really good. I'm really liking this. There's a powerful story from the life of Joan of Arc. And she fulfills her mission with such courage and such determination and faith, and it is admirable. And you can't help but appreciate the stories of people who have gone before you, and then want to emulate that and want to be like them. And so a message that I got from her, I wrote a few quotes down, and I don't think I can I'm just gonna, maybe they'll just follow me everywhere. But here's a quote from that documentary. There are some things worse than death, and there are even some things worse than dying young, and that's to live without courage or conviction. And I think that Joan of Arc was such an example of that. And I think each of us can do that as well. That we can live our lives with courage and conviction. So I am inspired by Joan of Arc. I'm inspired by her message and the life she lived to be able to fulfill her purpose and to do what she felt God was asking her to do. And that's what each of us have been called to do and what we've been asked to do. And Marlene posted that podcast 200 and invited us to listen to it. And what that has done for me after listening to it is it has impressed the importance of reading to my children. And that's something that's been hard for me. It's so hard to get them to sit down and to get them to understand and to listen. Spanish is our first language for my children. And so these big words can be difficult, and to have to stop and to have to help my 2-year-old can be really challenging. But I feel the importance of reading to my children, and I feel the importance of getting these stories into their hearts, but not only theirs, into mine. And so since listening to that podcast, I have made an effort every single day to share heartwarming stories with my children. And I have struggled through whatever comes up in order to get those stories into their hearts, and not just to check it off, because I'm learning the difference of doing something just to check it off and say, okay, I did it, versus learning so that it gets into their hearts. Because earlier this week, I tried to put on a podcast and it wasn't working and they didn't understand anything. And I asked them what they got out of it and they got nothing. And we tried again and again and again. And it wasn't until I sat down with them, I helped them understand. I reviewed, I paused, asked questions. And then I realized there was a spark in their eye and they were changed. And that's the same change that I'm experiencing. As these stories get into my heart, I'm different, I'm better. I am more able to outreach and to share with others. I have something to share. I have a light to offer to others. And I think that's the beauty and benefit of gathering with others. We learn from each other. We have an opportunity to share with others. And as we nurture our own hearts, we are able to do that.
Okay, moms, now you can see you can do it in the midst of all of the stuff. It was just a good example of that, Linnell. Thank you so much. Thanks for those words and that example and that reminder. And that's a good example to have that, image of Joan of Arc there in front of you as you're going out there and being courageous in whatever it is that you're doing, and just staying home and being a mama and a wife and a homemaker and sister, daughter, all the things that requires courage. So, I love you. I wish you well this next week. I'm excited already about next Friday and getting to gather with you again and finding out what it is that we are what's on our hearts and what we're going to do. So thank you so much, all of my friends, for being here today, and all of our new friends. It's so good to have you with us. So good to see new faces and make new friends. So I hope you come back and meet with us again. So thank you. Yeah.